Howdy folks, and welcome to Dice Chatter. My name is Donnie, and today is one of those days I hope I don't look back on this video and realize maybe I said something that future me would care about. Well, nonetheless, I've been thinking about this Warcry topic for a little while now, and I feel it has lost its hold on me. Here and there I'd peek at the book and think it might be fun to make a battle report, but I always pass up the opportunity. Obviously, this is going to be an odd video, a bit different than the usual terrain build or Frostgrave battle report. I have some thoughts and feelings about Warhammer's Warcry, and maybe a few of you have had a similar experience. By no means do I want folks to think that this is some sort of extremely critical or disparaging video towards Games Workshop. There is enough of that content on this platform already, and honestly, I simply couldn't care less. I want to inform you why things have changed, and what I've learned about tabletop gaming as a whole over the years. Please, I encourage you to express your thoughts and feelings down below in the comments. I'm sure you and I think a bit differently and have had wildly dissimilar experiences in life. Getting a new or strange perspective, even in something as simple as a tabletop game, can help open your eyes to possibilities and new ways to look at why we play with little plastic dudes on the tabletop. So without further ado, let's do some chatting. For an individual like myself that creates hobby content for the fun of it, I am in a unique situation. I am not your average tabletop gamer. I rarely game in stores nowadays, and everything I need is in my little home studio. I'd say I'm quite fortunate to have a setup like this, mainly because this is how I like to game, in a casual environment, where I can roll it solo, or convince my wife or a buddy to stop by and play a game or two. I am honestly proud of what I've created over the years, and Warcry was a big stepping point in helping decide what drives me as a tabletop gamer. So let's chat about Warcry for a minute. I don't have very many issues with the game itself. The D6 system is pretty standard for a lot of GW titles, and once you learn the basics of rolling, combat, and movement, the game is pretty easy to get a grasp on. I'm usually not big on a bunch of cards for a tabletop skirmish game, but the way you create a unique and one-of-a-kind game with the flipping of these cards, determining model and terrain placement was surprisingly smooth and exciting. And to be honest, I miss rolling a bunch of D6s, seeing how much or little impact it had on the game. Also, not to mention, the GW models, lore, and campaign potential is strong, and many folks, including myself, enjoy some grim dark fantasy. So all of this is great, and it's what I enjoyed about Warcry as a whole, but it quickly turned into a situation where I felt like I was constantly falling behind. I just couldn't keep up with the release schedule of Games Workshop. I want you to try and imagine for a second that you run the Dice Chatter YouTube channel. Of course, keep in mind during my little rant here that you are a one-man show. It's 2019. You have a bit more hair on your head, and you hear about a skirmish tabletop game called Warcry. It seems like it would be something that you would enjoy trying out. And even more exciting, at this time, it's the new hot thing from Games Workshop. It might even do well on YouTube, which is a nice bonus. You get yourself the starter set after it is released to the masses, and you are so excited about the game, you push your day job and other responsibilities to the side and manage to get it all built and painted over a couple weekends. But you're a smart content creator and realize you can't just have the same two warbands fighting it out in the 8 points. That content would get stale pretty quickly, so you go out and purchase warband after warband, terrain set after terrain set, and let's not forget, in 6 months a new expansion will emerge with more warbands and terrain that will need to be completed. I'm sure you can start to understand the financial burden here, but for the sake of argument, let's imagine that money isn't an issue for you. I'm sure there are many things that draw you into the tabletop gaming hobby, but not every bit of it will be your cup of tea. At least it isn't for myself. Some days, model creation sounds like a blast, and other times I'd rather drown myself in plastic glue. Even if you have the capability to find someone who can take these models or terrain off your hands, they still need the time to build, paint, and get everything looking good. And keep in mind, I haven't even talked about the steps to learn how to produce, film, and edit these battle reports for the masses. So let's jump back to the present day. By now, I'm sure you have a bit of understanding of what goes on in the background here at Dice Chatter. There's a good amount of time and effort that goes into creating the battle report videos on the channel. Is it top-notch and perfect? Of course not. But there is a conscious effort to always try and improve the way the content is presented. Doing all of this, even though it is truly an enjoyable process for myself, it can be extremely stressful, especially if you feel the need to keep up with all the tabletop games you showcase. Now, I'd be lying if I said I didn't put a bit of pressure on myself producing content for the channel, but even more importantly, the quality of said content needs to be up to my own personal standards. I would rather take the time to create a video that fits my vision than quickly push it out for the sake of views and subscribers. I've come to the realization I need to ask myself one thing when I sit down and start making a video: will this make me happy? A good question to ask yourself about most everything you do. Warcry became a game of keep up, a game of stress. It took a while to understand this, and I have since moved on to other titles. I can't remember where I read this or the exact phrasing, but it went along the lines of something like this: Warhammer is the gateway drug of tabletop gaming. It helps an individual discover what they truly enjoy about the hobby, later realizing it's not a Games Workshop title. There are so many war games that exist nowadays. Just make sure the ones that you play make you happy. The intention of this video isn't to make you feel sorry or empathize with me. I am hoping that a bit of perspective from another can help you potentially grasp a bit of your own thoughts and feelings towards tabletop wargaming as a whole. I'm truly in a fortunate position to be able to take the thoughts and ideas from my head and implement that into content that folks seem to enjoy. The amount of positive reactions I've gotten from folks over the years about the Warcry content I have created has been overwhelming, and I felt the need to at least meet you halfway. Does this mean the absolute end of Warcry or Games Workshop games on the channel? Of course not. My opinions and thoughts change, I'm sure, just like you. As always, I want to thank my patrons for hanging around through everything. You all are a wonderful group of people. For those of you who have stuck around until the bitter end of this chat, there is a reason I close out every video with a specific phrase, and I'm going to reiterate it here once again. I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.